Good afternoon. Wow, it's kind of loud. I'm Jay Tusa. I'm the Executive Director of the Walton County TDC. I want to thank everyone for coming out here this evening. We know your time is valuable, so thank you for coming out. It's kind of funny. I was just telling Celeste the beginning when she walked in earlier and kind of the room started filling out. I said, so this is actually kind of nice. I said, since I've been here for the past 3 years, this is the biggest turnout we've had for a workshop. So it's kind of nice to have people turn out and give their input on the projects that the TDC is initiating. So real quick, the Board of County Commissioners asked the TDC to hold this workshop for them so we can get information and present that back to them so they can make a decision on how they want to move forward with this project. So in just a minute, I'm going to ask Chance Powell to come up. He's our traffic operations engineer for the county. And then Matt Carpenter, our planning director for Walton County, he's here as well. And so I think kind of during the course of this workshop, the three of us will kind of be answering questions as it kind of pertains to each of us. So I think with that said, I'm going to let Chance kind of come up and talk about the plan, and then we'll start discussing that plan. And then just real quick, I'm going to walk around with the microphone. So if you have a question that you want to ask, just wait for me to get to you, and then state your name for the record so we can record that in, okay? Thank you.
Good evening. Chance Powell, like Jay said. I'll explain how, I guess, we got to where we are with this parcel. Several years ago, I was asked to be in a meeting with several property owners, I guess on Woodward or maybe in Serenity. I don't know exactly where everybody lived in that meeting, but I was in that meeting with Commissioner Anderson and those property owners, and they were expressing issues that they were having with patrons at the Stinky's restaurant, leaving the restaurant, driving up Woodward, looking for a way to turn around, maybe leaving their car overnight, parking in driveways, things like that. And they were looking for some help. What could the county do to help with that issue? And, you know, we thought about it for a while. I thought about it a lot. I looked at different parcels because I knew that Woodward and Hilltop was only one parcel that separated those. Maybe if there was some opportunity to provide another access between the two, another way out, some relief for them for that. And then when the TDC purchased the beachfront parcel on the south side of 30A, the discussion started with the owner of the two lots there, which is Mr. Richard. And we were looking at opportunities for how to develop a parking lot, a public parking lot there, listening to Mr. Richard's issues with, I guess, the neighbors and everybody back and forth about the patrons and how they were interacting, what could be done. And you know, the idea was presented to maybe for him to give up an easement on the north side of his lot too, because currently his two lots are both oriented east and west. Only one fronts 30A, the other one fronts both Woodward and Hilltop. And the thought was, what if you connected that over to Hilltop, gave another opportunity for Serenity and North Woodward property owners to exit out without going through basically Stinky's property. And that's where the discussion started. That is what yielded the plan that y'all have seen. I will say that the easement that Woodward is on is a public easement across Stinky's property. Stinky's property, the actual restaurant owns the fee simple property under that easement on both sides of the road. So it was a 35-foot easement. The easement that's indicated there on the north side of that lot too is 35 feet. The road that's drawn on there is, I think, 20 feet wide, which is roughly the same width that Woodward is. It's shifted to the south side of that easement to allow turning radius. Sure. So this is a 35-foot easement here, 20-foot wide roadway. It was shifted to the south side. See if I can point with everything here. So the 20-foot wide roadway is shifted to the south side of the 35-foot easement. So this turning radius would accommodate fire trucks and larger vehicles, garbage trucks, that type of stuff. the parking lot is specifically accessed off a hilltop just to limit access on 30A. I know that may be a wish for some people to have the parking lot fronting off of 30A, but with the proximity of the other driveways in here from a traffic circulation standpoint, access management on 30A, I felt that it was better for that road, the parking lot to access off of Hilltop. I believe this drawing here has 33 spaces, maybe 34, and a couple of maybe 4 golf cart parking. There's a 6-foot sidewalk along the east side here down to the multi-use path. This is just a concept drawing. There's no hard engineering been done on this. Most likely all the stormwater management for this would be subsurface in some type of a exfiltration or vault type system. If there's any other questions, I'll be glad to try to answer them between Mac and I.
Well, I'd like to start with, okay. My name is Celeste Cabina, and I live at 412 Hilltop Drive in Beach Highlands, First Edition. I have some comments and then some suggestions for you.
Absolutely.
First, yeah, I mean, we all know Jim Richard owns Stinky's Restaurant. He owns these 2 lots, and for whatever reason, the county has not allowed him to build parking on these 2 lots. And in fact, I was at about a year ago at a workshop when we were talking about some other parking issue around here. And I believe it was Brian you were asked that question, why, wasn't the parking lots, since they are pretty much 90% in the coastal dune lake protection zone, how were the other houses able to build and he's not? And you said in that meeting that was, let's see, what was the word you used? It was a mystery to you, something to that effect. And you were going to solve that mystery. So I don't know if that mystery's been solved in the last year as to how now the county's going to come in and be able to build this parking lot when Jim Richard was not able to. I'd like to say I don't care if the county builds a parking lot here for Jim Richard's restaurant. They spent $7 million on a parking lot for Seaside, so let's all be fair to all the businesses. So that's not an issue for me. However, I have a real big issue with all of the traffic, and I believe Mr. Crawford pointed out in a previous meeting that at some point in time it's likely to be 800 homes back that would all access out through Woodward. That would dump 800 additional cars right there at Hilltop, in addition to the 30 parking spaces there. So I suggest to you, instead of creating a complete mess there for all the people in Beach Highlands, and particularly those on Hilltop, that I see on your map there, that, and I understand, I spoke with Jim Richard, and yes, and he says one of his conditions for the county building this parking lot that he will enjoy the use of, let's face it, is that the easement is abandoned. And I question whether that easement can even be abandoned, because that's a federal easement, and one of the, I Googled federal easements, and it says that if it is in use, a county cannot abandon it. So I question the legality of that. But what I'm going to suggest to you is if a parking lot is built here by the county, that instead of inconveniencing all the people at Serenity by the Dune Allen and Beach Highlands, is that I see you've got a sidewalk there. I don't understand why you can't widen that sidewalk into a road and have Woodward continue on down to 30A and have a direct route. Then you can eliminate those 2 90-degree turns and still have that direct route, and then possibly I noticed a lot of the other beach accesses, there's a way in and there's a way out. There's usually two in and out places, not just one like this. So I would suggest off of the Woodward that is moved to the west, have an entrance and exit possibly into the parking lot, and then also one off of Hilltop. But I think that is the only thing that is really equitable for our community.
Okay, I'm going to address a couple of things, but I don't know that I'm the one fit to address all of the stuff you talked about. But specifically, the access to Woodward and why it's not right here. The issue that I was trying to address with that is the patrons going in and out of the restaurant seeking a parking space and getting confused with whether or not they're on Woodward and headed up looking for some parking up Woodward. I just feel like by completely separating that entrance all the way around here, the patrons at Stinky's will be over there, and access to Woodward is around here. There's a little bit of separation there. I just feel like that
why is it we're all bending over backwards for Stinky's restaurant?
We're not.
That's what you just said. We're going to do what's best for Stinky's patrons, not what's best with the community.
Hold on. I think what I was trying to say was it was the homeowners up there didn't want Stinky's patrons going up, turning around their driveway and parking overnight and leaving their car there. Okay. Well, there's no access to Stinky's off of Hilltop. It's all down here on 38.
You're going to dump a whole lot of traffic onto Hilltop. Those people are going to say, look at the traffic jam down there by 38. Let's turn up Hilltop. Let's turn up Baird. Let's just drive around this neighborhood and see what's back here and find another way out. And, you know, I'm going to maintain, and I will maintain at the May 14th County Commission meeting that Woodward needs to continue on as being an open street, whether it's moved to the west or in its current place to 30A. And I think that's what's best for the community. And I don't care what's best for Stinky's restaurant. I mean, that's just what I keep hearing. Well, Stinky's wants this, Jim Richard wants that. What about the community?
I still think what I was saying was I was trying to address the community's concern on Woodward North. I'm addressing the community's concern on Beach Highlands. You need to go on Baird. Okay. I've been on Baird. Okay. All right.
I'm going to go a little easier on you, Chance.
Hey, I'm good. Come on. Bring it.
Bring it on. Fred Tricker, Tricker. I just wonder if you could run some numbers for us. You said there's 33, 34 parking spots in this proposed spot here. How many parking spaces do you have for the beach access right now, roughly?
That's going to be a question for either Brian or Jay.
I believe it's 20 or 21, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
I can double check when Brian comes back and we're coming.
Okay, and how many parking spaces does Stinky currently have versus what they're required to have by code?
I'm not, that might be.
I understand. Can you tell me how many parking spaces it is, just for comparison purposes?
Exactly. I mean,
I'm sorry? I mean, is it 20 or something like that? Okay. All right. And also, can somebody confirm the number of residences that would be built ultimately back in the subdivision up there to the north?
Let me address that directly. The number you're hearing, 800, ain't ever gonna happen.
Okay,
It will never, ever happen.
so what's the real number?
My name's Jackie Fudge. I live at 89 Baird Road. So on Saturday, I went back into Serenity neighborhood just to see what's happened. You know, it's been a while since I've been back there. And there are 45 homes that have been built. They're under construction, or they have a construction permit, and based on the sign at the lot. So that is as of last Saturday. I don't know how many for the whole neighborhood is in its entirety ultimately. But as someone who lives there has also told me a developer's looking at putting in another development behind them, and they would access 30A through Serenity neighborhood. So that would bring in an additional traffic load from a new neighborhood should that be approved. And I don't know what status is that perhaps you do.
You have no application? Any development north of Serenity do now, will use your drive. No, sir. No, sir. No, sir, I got a map right here if you want, I'll show you. That is not true. We have to look at that. My name's Jim Crawford. I'll show them the map here that I have where he says behind Center. There is more, so here it is. This is Serenity, sir. We have all this right in here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is Serenity, sir.
North of that
But
line,
this here, we can still take the road out through here.
all of these will be.
They can go this way. They can, sir. Not down to that flat. No, sir, that is reason it's still flat. Yes, sir, I got that too. It says that all these easements and everything else were given to the county. Okay. Okay, look. I'm agreeing with you. Okay, so now you're saying we're not allowed to use them after they give it to the county? No, I'm just saying that I don't expect that we would approve the development using that small easement right there. I've been using it for 40 years, sir. I've been using all these easements. We're not approving subdivision that would have that kind of access. If the subdivision go out Sugar Drive and they have that as a secondary. Well, okay, or if you come down through here. That was my point. The primary access will be out Sugar Drive. No, sir, not necessarily, because this particular piece of property has easements out through here also. I appreciate that, but we have to approve the use of that on that. But if you even approve it all going out Sugar Drive and so does the road, then people are going that way. And that's gonna happen. I just don't ever see that road happening. Okay, and also we've got a road coming in from, Thompson. There are lots of government easements, but the county has to approve the use of it. Not necessarily. They can't tell me I can't use it. Well, once it's open, the public is allowed to use it, whether it's a dirt road, or it's a goat path, or it's a 5-lane. The people are allowed to use it, and that's what we're arguing. That the people are allowed to use it. My next question on your drawings here, Walton County, do they not a corridor for beautification of 15 feet. And why isn't it on this right here? Why don't we have it? That's 20 feet. Beautification.
Acquired this, or will be acquired as additional right of way?
So they have a beautification after 15 feet that they take from the people that own the property. That would run it right about through here, would it not?
Not right away, just 38 right away.
38 right of way, off of 38 right of way.
Wait, no, hold on. You're gonna have 38 right away to do this. Post acquisition.
So are they gonna have a 33 foot here then? And they're gonna beautification act down both sides? The 12 feet, so you can put 12 feet up, and why don't we have the 20 feet here? Because we only have, this is a 35 foot, we got 20. We don't have enough for that 20 foot corridor. Do we?
We can adjust this to accommodate. Just in first drafts.
Well, I'm just bringing it to your attention. Oh. That's not all I have to say. I hope I'm talking loud enough, but I was asking them about the 20-foot corridor easement, and they're saying that this is going to become a road right in here. This is part of the 38 easement. They're going to make this part of the 38 easement. That would mean they'd have to have a 20-foot corridor all the way around and out if they don't come across the front. And they're saying, well, we can adjust all that. That's all. I don't think we need to adjust it, but y'all be the judge. That's what we're talking about, landscape up, they're going to move it all the way around. We're not going to get 20 foot, and 20 foot down. That's going to make it mighty small.
Now, the intent here is to properly landscape this. If it becomes right of way, the county would not be subject to that. Because that 20-foot scenic corridor buffer is not on the county property. I'm the planning director. My name is Matt Carpenter.
So you're saying if the county purchases this, that they don't have to follow the scenic corridor plan?
They would be exempt from that. Yes.
I love the way everybody else has to follow.
That's different than being exempt, is this becomes right of way, any property relating that has to have a buffer.
Would be subject, their development would be subject to the buffer. Yes, ma'am.
I could go back a little bit before I can argue about where the traffic should come in, because I'm concerned about the thing. My name's Michelle Bailey, I live 111 Tractor Road, and I've been there since 1998. My understanding that parcel, almost its entirety, like I said, is in the coastal inland protection zone. It is also zoned SR Resort, which is single family resort.
No, ma'am, you're looking at property appraisers,
Okay.
designation for the use there for property tax purposes.
Can you clarify the zone?
The actual zoning, I think, is residential preservation or neighborhood infill, one or the other. But once it becomes right of way, it will not apply.
But it hasn't yet, so that's what I'm trying to get back to, on how are we getting around the coastal inland protection zone requirement? That's what I'm just trying to start at the beginning.
If it's a portion of the right of way is exempt from those regulations.
You rezone everything, so it's exempt from all the things that are in place.
It would be purchased as additional right of way for County Road 30A. The right of way does not have a land use designation.
Understood. And that purchase is, help me with that, I'm going to have to, it has not been.
Has not happened yet. We're having a workshop before the county commission considers whether or not to purchase this for the intended use that we're talking about here.
The public's aware that all those exemptions take place once that acquisition happens. But prior to that acquisition, if it were to stay like it is now, it would be developed as a house. Is that right?
Could be developed as two single-family homes, similar to the one that's been developed just up the street from it.
If it remains like it is,
Yes.
it's two homes, and that's, all things remain equal, but if it's acquired, then that's when all these other things happen.
Yeah, now, this particular, these two lots in the covenants and restrictions, depending on whether or not they're still valid for the Beach Highlands addition that this is part of, designates these two lots as commercial use lots. Yes. And Jim Richard at one time had considered a mixed-use development over here that would be Stinky's Bait Shack, I think was the name of the project that came through. He was going to have parking on one level and retail on the other level.
Oh, retail and parking.
Yeah. It was a pretty intense use of that particular parcel, and the numbers just didn't work for what he was trying to do based on what he paid for the property. Yes, sir.
Good evening, and thank you for conducting the meeting. My name is John Duncan Morrison, and I live on 106 Woodward Drive, and I'm here representing my brother, 108 Woodward Drive, Darrell Boyles, 58 Woodward Drive, and I also have comments from my neighbor, David Fagan, who's right south of me. And we have experienced some of the most dangerous conditions that I've ever seen in my life. I can't tell you the number of times I've nearly been hit by people coming around that blind dumpster or coming in my driveway and driving into the woods. It's just, I had probably 900 pictures taken of people parked halfway in the street with their trailer hitched the other half of the way. So it's been a really, really brutal couple of years. And I've been there for 10 years, my brother as well. So I have 4 or 5 comments. First, I'm thankful for you tackling a really tough problem, and I'm probably, I'm not going to be in agreement with everyone here, but I have 5 or 6 comments. And the first is, I really like the curbing that you did on the Dune Allen beach access to the direct east of this proposed access. And the line of sight coming out of the existing Woodward is almost impossible. They're across the street now, then there'll be the beach, then there's the walkway, then there's the Stinkies, then there's the this and the that. Those curbs across the street on the northern side, if they came from Hilltop to the other end of Stinkies on the northern side, would prohibit the parking in the ditches there and give, I think, safety for everybody wherever they are. That's my first comment. Mr. Fagan, who is next to me, was concerned about how do we stop people parking on the new bridge road, I'll call it. Because people, when that parking lot's full, they come out and say, I'll go park up in the neighborhood. And the first road they're going to find is this bridge road. And so he just wants to know how we're going to stop the parking there, if there's going to be a way. And my next question, if it's okay to ask Mac, is the path of least resistance to Stinkies from the new parking lot is directly east and across this access for Woodward Drive. And it's just going to, so what civil architectural features can keep that pathway from not just being a pathway over to Stinkies, which is what's going to happen. The people are going to park there. They're going to go to Stinkies. And so I get it that that pathway allows the people in Serenity to come down to the beach access, which I like. But I also believe it's now going to be an east-west corridor, which I don't like. Lastly, I think somehow we need a path out of this parking lot straight across to the beach access, because there isn't one. If you park there, how do you get to the beach? Are you saying that they're all going to use? So come straight south, have a pathway out to the beach access, not the Woodward path down, the Serenity Woodward path down, but so they can park and they come right across the street. And protect what I'm saying is the eastern migration to Stinkies from that parking lot. Give us the path, but don't make it the Pioneer Trail between the parking lot and the, you know what I'm saying?
Talking about another path somewhere in this area.
Yes, sir. Right out. And that's the, if it's labeled appropriately, they can come out with their buggies and their towels and go across the street, because what you've done is you've created, so that's my suggestions. The last one is, so I got Fagan, I got the path, I got the curbs, and what's to stop the people from parking on the bridge road? And is the bridge road going to be a county-maintained road?
You're calling this the bridge road?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that would be county maintained.
That's fantastic. That's great. And again, I would find a way to push people to come out of that parking lot onto the pathway, walk down, and into Stinkies. Because otherwise, it's just going to be foot traffic across, and it's going to look like a mess. And so, and that's just what I can guarantee it. I've lived there for 10 years, I watch it, right? So if they can park, they walk out, they get on the common walkway, they come down, they go to Stinkies, they come out, they enjoy this, they walk back, come up. Otherwise, the little cart path for the Woodward Serenity people will be destroyed. And that's all I have. Chance, thank you very much for the time that you spent. And it's a lot. It's been a volatile and different. I mean, I probably spent $15,000 armoring the road on Woodward just to avoid the problem coming out of Stinkies.
Yeah, my name's Karen Madrid. I'm at 187 Crescent Road. And this is just kind of an observation. I feel that the bottom line is people are parking on Woodward, and it's because they want to go to Stinkies, and there isn't any parking at Stinkies. So we're doing all of this to accommodate parking for restaurateurs, right, patrons, and preserving the neighborhood over there on Woodward. But I kind of feel that Beach Highlands is going to get thrown under the bus on this, because you're kind of sacrificing one for the other, right? We're gonna cure this problem, but yet now Beach Highlands is gonna have a problem on Hilltop. You've got the entrance and the exit on Hilltop. There's no sidewalks on Hilltop. How are you gonna prevent beach users from using that parking lot? And also, if you think about it, Hilltop, we're kind of a big U. You go from Hilltop around the corner to North Bishop. It's a big old U through the neighborhood. And I really foresee that becoming a problem with speeders, with the looky-loos, or the people who are lost, or whatever you want to call it. And even if they don't choose to use that route, there's a reason why we're the Beach Highlands, because we have hills that are blind hills. You've got kids that are out there playing. You've got folks walking their dogs. And I truly feel that there's a better way to do it. I'm not going to tell you how to do your job, but I feel like you're going to sacrifice our community for the other. That's just an observation.
Okay. Appreciate that.
I have a solution.
Yes, please come up front.
I will. Some people will go, oh my God. So I grew up in a southern town that had a square, and you went one way around the square and there were spokes coming off, and I'm proposing that we have a roundabout here. You come down 38, there's a curve here. It's a blind curve when you come down Hilltop. So if you're putting more traffic in and out of here onto Hilltop, there's going to be a bad accident there. It's a miracle it hasn't happened before now, okay? So you're coming down 38 this way. We have New Beach access here. There's one way into the New Beach parking lot on the south side. Again, we've got the roundabout here, so you spin off there. You're going to leave. You've had a good time. You go out this way. You go around the roundabout, either going back east, or you're going to go all the way around the roundabout and go back down 38, okay? On the north side, we do not close Woodward. Woodward is one of those spokes, so when you go around the roundabout, you can go off here or come on here. You go in one way here into the new access, or the new parking rather, on the north side, and there's one way out over here. So you either come off to Hilltop or you come off to Woodward, okay? And then same thing for Hilltop. It's another spin around the roundabout. So that basically also slows the traffic down, because anybody that's tried to walk their dog, ride their bike, go across the street to the beach, or people come flying around that curve, they don't see you, and this will slow it down a little bit, move things more smoothly through here. Will still allow for access here between the two roads, not close this off. It's still going to give Stinky some additional parking and be much safer. When you look at 45 properties that are currently either built or under construction in the back here, the neighborhood over here, which is where I live, all the traffic that comes through here, ultimately, let's say a lot of these are rentals back here. My neighborhood's turning rental. 3-bedroom across from me now sleeps 16. Imagine that. How did that happen? Anyway, not happy, but it's what it is. And it's just an idea, but I think it's got merit. Again, in terms of someone who's an engineer, they'd have to figure out exactly how it could fit. But I think that it would be safer, and it would provide access to everybody and not complicate it so much. And if you can learn to drive around a roundabout, if you don't know how, I'll teach you.
What was your name?
Jackie Fudge, maybe on
Hi, my name is Tracy Sweetland. I live down on the west end of 30A. I have a question. Is there any particular reason you can't have the parking lot and still leave Woodard open? Why are we trying to close it? I don't see the point of that.
I think the reason for that was the request by people on Woodward when there wasn't parking available at the restaurant. Those people were continuing north, either looking for a way to turn around, looking for additional parking. That's the reason.
But now we'll have a parking lot.
You got a parking lot to solve that problem.
Plus, a lot of the traffic up there is valet traffic from Stevens.
Oh, really?
And
They were going straight up there as parking. I don't think it was so much the visitors. I think it was Stinky's valet.
Well, that goes back to Select's original question, why don't you just let Stinky build a parking lot on Stinky's property? And that way, people won't be parking on Woodward.
And you could put a crosswalk from the parking lot to the beach access that actually marks. I mean, they're going to park somewhere. We might as well consider this, but I don't understand why we're rerouting people to Hilltop and closing roads. And if you're going to make it a parking lot, just make it a parking lot.
Okay. Go ahead.
So, just as Chance just said, real quick, I want to clarify. So, as one of the requirements of what Jim Richard is asking for in the sale, he is asking for that abandonment of that property. So that's part of one of the conditions of the sale of the property.
Then that's the reason.
Yeah.
Then that's the reason. So, we don't all get what we want.
Name's Kenneth Blackburn. I live on Hilltop. Been there 25 years. All you're basically doing is making their problem our problem.
Okay.
If you want an entrance to the parking lot, take it off 38 or off Woodard Avenue. We don't need it over there. We get by just fine. And people are not stopping to think there's 33 parking places. Every 30 or 45 minutes, them 33 people are leaving. There's 33 more coming in. I've seen how they park along both sides of 38 at night. There's 60 or 70 cars down through there. They're walking out between them, out in the roads. We just don't need it. I set my cameras last month on a Monday. We had 38 vehicles come past our little road. 38 on Hilltop. That's not counting skateboards, golf carts, bicycles, walkers, dog walkers. We got all we need on Hilltop. We don't need that mess. I'm sure that the people back in Serenity, I built Serenity. I know what it's like. And when the whole time we was building, I thought, where in the hell are these people going to go? I wouldn't go into a building there was only one way out of. There's a little road that goes off to the east there. They can do something with that if they want to. I know that Serenity wouldn't want us over riding around in their neighborhood, and I don't want them over riding around in mine. Thank you.
My name is Michelle Petty, and I live in Serenity. What formula do you use to figure out how many carloads of people can use the beach in the beach access, in addition to all the neighborhoods that will be pedestrians using that beach access, because you got private property on both sides. So what formula do you use to figure out how many parking spots, when the parking lots are full of families using that beach plus the neighborhood people?
I can, I think, address a part of that, which is trip generation from a single-family residence is on average 10.1 vehicles a day. For the beach access, it's probably going to be based on, I don't really know, I might have to defer to maybe TDC or Brian to if y'all have any numbers on that for trip generation from a beach access point. It's going to be based on availability of space. I don't know.
How traffic engineers have figured out how many trips a household will generate. There's no way for us to effectively say there's going to be X amount of people walking to the beach, Y amount of people driving a car to the beach, how long those people will stay at the beach. And so what we're attempting to do as TDC is to purchase Gulfront property to convert into public beach accesses that people can come and enjoy. We expect that when a beach gets crowded, just like when a bus gets crowded, I either get on the bus or I wait for I don't get on the bus. But there's no effective way to do that. But I think the question was generated to say, do we need additional parking at that public beach access? And so I would argue that that public parking lot can be used for that beach access. It can be used for people that like to traverse our multi-use path that connects our communities. And to say that we're building a parking lot for Stinkies, does that mean if we build a parking lot anywhere in South Walton that we're building it for that adjacent business? No, it means that we are actively searching for places to put municipal parking that can be used for many different things. We just purchased a lot adjacent to Gulf Place. Are we building parking for Gulf Place? No, we're building parking for people that want to go to a regional beach access to have reasonable ability to park and walk to that beach access.
One of the things we're looking at for this particular parking lot, sort of as a pilot project, is having this parking metered. And potentially dynamically metered, so it changes depending on the time of day or the season or those kinds of things. It very well could possibly be used after hours by Stinkies for their valet parking by paying for it. Where does that money go? It goes into the county's general fund, I would imagine. But this is an idea. I can't give you all of those details, but it's something that I believe that we need to address because it speaks to everywhere we've got a public parking.
Let me just get to this gentleman back here.
Hi, I'm William LeCourt. My family owns the 2 lots on Hilltop directly opposite where the new parking lot would empty out and where the road would turn. So just to recap the way things I understand it, Jim Richard owns Stinkies, these 2 lots. He was a member of TDC up until a few months ago. He's going to sell these 2 lots to the county, y'all build him a parking lot basically, shut down the road right there, so there's no reason why people couldn't just walk across to his place, and now there's no taxes to pay on those lots because now they're owned by the county, so they were improved for free. I understand that they'll also be used for the beach, but by closing Woodward, you're basically guaranteeing people are just going to use it to park at Stinkies. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, sure, they're going to do that. So, it just seems that this is a lot of benefit for Jim Richard. So.
My name is Sidney Osry. I live on Spotted Dolphin, which is North Bishop, kind of extended to the east. What about, okay, so South Bishop is a special parking area where you can't park on the street. That neighborhood has gotten that through the county somehow, where you can't park cars going to the beach. There's only like 5 beach parking spots, but they'll tell you if you park on the street. Why can't they do that with Woodward and put up signs and say, do not park on the street on this thing or you'll be towed?
Did somebody back here have a question?
My name is Karen Boyce. I live at 75 North Bishop Road, Beach Highlands 1. I have a question. May I go up to the board? I'll
Sure.
be able to point and explain what I want to say better. We were calling this,
Excuse me.
we're calling this what, the Bridge Road? Mhm. Okay. And it's coming over here to Hilltop. So we're going to have parking come into Hilltop. It sort of stops here. You don't realize this subdivision goes like this. So we're just looking at this. What's going to happen is these people are going to not go down here and try to get onto it. They're going to come up here. The first crosswalk is Baird. Baird ends, if they don't stop at that stop sign, down in my driveway. The next one up is Dune, the same thing. It ends up at North Bishop. The third one is the same thing at Crescent, North Bishop. So you've got all of these ones coming, not coming down here, they're coming down North Bishop. And, you know, you can say, oh, they can come down here and they're going to come down here. Then they've got to get around this corner. They'd rather go down there and just go out this way, where we have one stop sign and not as much traffic. Did I explain that so everybody understands it? Okay. Just one more thing. If you come across here, my road goes, North Bishop goes across to South Bishop. South Bishop, there is a walkover that you can get into. There's like 8 spots. So do you know what they've done? The neighborhood got done on both sides of it. They have these great big hideous signs, this big. This is a neighborhood road, no parking, under penalty of blah, 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 blah. That's an alternative, right? You're not saying yes.
No, I mean, it's certainly the county commission, if properly motivated, could make all public roadways a parking. I mean, the roadways for your subdivision are public property.
That's right. And so were these,
Very well
yeah,
could
but
do
there
that.
were things here, but oh,
We do not own the
we
land
got
that's
there.
underneath this road. And that's one of the difficulties about making
Mhm.
no parking out here.
Who owns the land underneath that? He owns all of this from here to here? Or does he own this?
All the way over to right there, to that green line, which is a few feet past where the pavement is.
Right.
There's a public easement over the top of it, but he owns the land underneath it.
Yeah. What I say is, again, it's been said before, this is all giving these guys a break. It's doing nothing for us but making a lot of trouble and a lot of traffic problems, too. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
My name is Don Boyce, and I live on North Bishop Road, and I'd like to pick up on what the previous speaker was saying. I think we have a mess, and I think we're making the neighborhood traffic even messier, a lot messier. Now, we have this, and as the previous lady was speaking, we've got 37 cars here, all trying to get out. This is really a blind turn right here. The road actually comes over here. It's very difficult to get out of Hilltop to take a left, especially with traffic coming down in 30A, and they're clipping right along like this. So what are they going to do? They got a choice. They can go up here, they can go down this road, they go to North Bishop, and it's a much clearer access to 30A, and there's speeding. I think this plan here is a mess, and it's going to make a terrible traffic mess. If I were doing, I would kill this plan right now. Thank you.
Let me see if there's somebody else. I'm talking to a few of you. I'll come back to you. Let me go over here just real quick. Oh, let me just right here. Come back.
My name is Janice Burke. Can you hear me? I live on Hilltop. Could I be indulged for a couple of questions? How was Woodward open to begin with? Yeah, how was it open to be used to? Okay. And then how can it be closed?
The county has to abandon the public interest in the easement.
Okay.
And the intent is to relocate that interest to right here.
Okay.
Not to eliminate any access, from the boats on the river, just redirect it around the place.
Okay, and do I understand correctly that now Woodward, Hilltop, and the new parking will all use Hilltop? Is that correct? And the county's aware of that curve there? Because every day when I pull out, it is almost impossible to turn left off of Hilltop. And here's my last question. Where did the idea originate to close Woodward? What person or persons?
That's mine. No, it was not. It was mine.
When I spoke with Jim, he said that was one of his conditions. He said, I won't sell the property unless they close Woodward. He said,
And we would not buy the property and relocate this traffic without closing that. Does that make any sense? To keep closing it?
I'll tell you what, I'm thinking this is such a mess. Maybe y'all need to go look at another piece of property and say this isn't going to work for everybody.
Well, here's our alternative. Right now, the Tom Thumb can go there. Based on the covenants and restrictions from this subdivision. That's the authority. Well, the original property owner prior to Jim Richard purchasing this was the Sunshine Junior Stores, which is the predecessor to the current Tom Thumb chain. And they very well would. Would that be better? You'd have a Tom Thumb closer to your house.
So, again, my name's John Duncan Morrison, 106, 108, 58. We own 6 acres up there in Woodward. I'm just going to say, in support of all the Hilltop folks, because I love Hilltop and Baird and North Bishop and South Bishop, what I watch, frequency, it's the frequency that's the issue here. And this exit has to continue. But this valet service, if over here, I think will create, I can see them, I was a valet once in college, right? I did that, right? 10 cents an hour. I think them coming and trying to whip back around, coming and then, valeting this, I think in support of the Hilltop people, and I'm a Woodwarder, right? Is that I think you come out here. So the pedestrians can come out, go to the beach, the pedestrians can come out, go down, go to Woodward, and the valet people can run up and down, and they're not having the deceleration. I was a valet, I pushed the pedal to the metal, right? So somehow I sense that if we can keep, and then if you do your curbs here to keep the people from parking, the gentleman mentioned 38 cars or something, That's really worked well in that beach access, a little bit to the south, keeping the traffic from parking there. I think we owe it to the tourists who come here to have them give beach access. That's what it's all about. It's not just Jim Richard. I've known him for a long time as well. So I support, again, representing multiple Woodwardians, we abandon this and let him use this. The frequency here is tremendous. And if we put us here, that same zoom, 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 zoom is not going to happen. It'll happen on 38 where it naturally needs to happen. So my 2 cents, I don't know if it's right or wrong. I'm not a traffic engineer.
Ideally, the intent here is to keep as much traffic off of 30A as possible. It really is. And to reduce the amount of parking on Hilltop that's occurring now, on this side of this lot, along here, and all the way up Woodward. I mean, the county could restrict parking on public right-of-way if they provide a facility for that.
There's all these big signs, no parking, no parking, no parking. And that was because somebody in the neighborhood talked to somebody they knew in the county commissioners, and they got those signs put up just fast. Yeah. Just one more time, and I think I said it before, but not when I was using the mic. Whoever complained about the traffic going up to the other subdivision there, that traffic, I still say, was, for the most part, the valet people going up there and parking the cars up there. That's exactly what they were doing, because there was no place else to park those cars. Thank you.
Just real quick, I want to clarify, because a couple people have made comments about parking in the right-of-way adjacent to Stinky's. And the TDC has a plan to make improvements, formalized parking all the way from Hilltop down to Fort Panic beach access. So what you see over in front of Fort Panic, that is coming to this area. So we are in the planning stages of that right now. And so we'll be rolling that out probably, Brian, maybe the next 6 months? So, but that is in the plan to formalize that. Let's just get you there.
First, let's issue a correction. You cannot park on Hilltop on either side from 30A up to Baird. There are signs that say the sheriff will tow you. So there's no parking there. Nobody's parking there right now. What's going to happen is those are empty lots, right? Okay. There is a Hilton, or what I call it the Hilltop Hilton, that is adjacent to that. Its sister properties are advertised at sleeping 30 people. 30 people, that's right. And there were 5 cars in the parking pad behind the house, which actually is the only parking for that property over the week, last week. So when you factor in, I want to make this point, when you factor in all the beach rentals and all the traffic from beach rentals, the house across from me is on the books as a 3-bedroom that sleeps 16. The first week of spring break, there were 11 cars. There was parking for 3 cars. They were all over the place, right, guys? Yep, because they're next door. And so we're not talking just about beach parking and on the south side and beach parking on the north side and people who live here full-time. We're talking about beach rentals that have more cars than should be there. So when we talk about traffic load, we talk about safety, we talk about all these various things, then we got a big problem here, folks. And I think it's important to provide the parking for people coming to the beach access. I have no issues with Stinky's. Love Jim. Love the guys over there. We just got to figure it out. But, yeah, I agree. I live at the top of one of the blind hills on Baird, and the house across the street, kids are on bikes playing in the street, because they put a pool in the back and there's no place for the kids to play if they don't want to swim. And, there's just going to be a tragic accident if we're not careful.
Chris Tricker and my grandchildren live in Beach Highlands on Spotted Dolphin. And my concern is that I pick them up from school, and then when I'm coming home, Blue Tesla. Watch you can't hear my electric car as you're out with your dogs. My concern is once they hit middle school, the bus will only let them off at 38. We have no sidewalks for those kids. They're walking on the street, and you're putting more traffic on there. This is a grandmother, and I know we're worry warts, but it's worrying me.
These are potential bar patrons who might have had to, you know, and now you're putting them in a neighborhood. I'm sorry. I'm just saying about the bar patrons who may or may not have had a couple drinks, and now I've already done that. And now you've got them cruising through a neighborhood, you know.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that, you know, listening to people, most people have no problem with the parking. They just have a problem with an exception or two with the closing of Woodward, and that's why I'm suggesting, you know, Jim Richard is, or Chance, one or the other, has put these conditions that they close or give, you know, they abandon the easement, and that's what I'm saying. I think if you would just expand that sidewalk to a road there on what possibly could be the county's property if they buy it, I think you would solve a lot of problems. I think you'd have a lot of people in this room happy. And I just got to say something about the county planning department. This is not the first time I have heard something like this from them. The citizens come up and go, we're not happy with this, we have concerns. And you know, like the comment about, well, it could be a Tom Thumb. And I've heard that about developments. Well, if you're not happy with this, we can make it a lot worse for you. I mean, how is that respecting us as citizens that have a voice? The First Amendment is the right to freedom of speech and to redress your government for grievances. And the government needs to listen to us, whether you like what we're saying or not. And not to threaten us back with, we can make it worse for you. So we're all here as concerned citizens, people that live in this community, and saying, we can live with you building parking, but please don't close a road and inconvenience and make our neighborhood dangerous. And I think we're being very generous and very accommodating to this situation. And we're just saying one thing, keep Woodward going all the way down 38, even if you got to move it to the west. And I want to say one thing. The BCC meeting is going to be May 14th. You show up and you got 3 minutes then, and you tell them what you think, because they're the guys that are going to make the decisions. I don't know, it's what time?
The 14th is going to be annex meetings before. It'll be 4 o'clock here at the annex. No, it'll be later in the agenda, I assure you. Just real quick though, to Celeste's point, we're having the workshop to get input, and as part of that, Chance is going to go back and he's going to relook at this and see if he can make some of the changes that were suggested at this meeting. So this is not concrete, this is not etched in stone. So that's the point of this workshop, is for us to get feedback and see if we can incorporate some of the changes into this plan. I'll come back to you. Let me just...
I have an idea. Input. Excuse me. Mark Flynn, live on Crescent. This little area here has already been pointed out as, you know, an accident ready to happen. You got people turning left, right. Yeah, I mean, they're two, you know, all the people from Serenity, Woodward are going to be using this road going one way or the other. It's, you know, right here, you got people crossing over each other. Someone else suggested, and I don't remember who, suggested there really needs to be an entrance and an exit. Here's a suggestion. How about this being the only entrance? And the exit, say coming out this way, coming to 38. So that people can't wander through Woodward or Hilltop, the people coming from the parking lot. It's something you might want to consider. Now, I have a second question. This one's a little more devious, sorry. Now, this basically been discussed, I think, between the owner of this property, who is also the owner of Stinky's, who needs more parking. I'm curious, as a taxpayer, how much we're going to pay for this. to buy this property?
So the purchase of this property, we would use TDT funds, so tourist development tax funds, and those are not paid by locals, those are paid by visitors. It's a 4% tax that is collected on accommodation, so it is bed tax dollars.
The way that Stanky imposes on our property around that block, what's to stop when you block off Woodward? He just puts tables and chairs out there in Woodward and has him some extra room. You're going to build him a parking lot. And then maybe 3 or 4 years you say, well, maybe we need Hilltop too. So we just close off Hilltop. And then he goes that way. Deal with what you got right there and keep it off our property and it'll all be good. You've got plenty of roads and stuff and sidewalks.
Last tourist season, I probably called the police 15, 20 times because I almost hit a child on a bike because Stinky's people were parking. When you turn into Hilltop, they were parking on both sides. Well, I called enough, I got one side closed off. And I wasn't the only one calling. And they'll still park there, and they park out in the road. I went in one night, and there was one of those bicycle things on the back of a SUV, and it was sticking out several feet in the road. I almost hit it. There's going to be a wreck on there whether you do this or not. There's still going to be a wreck from Stinky's. I've called them. They don't do anything about it. But I will continue to call the sheriff's department, and they continue to come. And Hilltop, I moved there 25 years ago because it was quiet. Nobody came by. When I built there, people on this side of me went out Bishop. People on the other side of me went out Hilltop. Nobody came past my house 25 years ago. Now it's just a constant flow. We don't need any more, and we sure don't need any drunks down there.
My name is Michael Smith. I live on Conscience Way, and I appreciate the time that the county's put into allowing us to come and speak. I have two concerns or thoughts. One is I'm confused about the right-of-way on Woodward and Jim owning the land that is beneath it. The neighborhood built the road wasn't to the county specs, as I understand it, and the subdivision is required to maintain both the road and the right-of-way. The subdivision originally put landscaping in, and they irrigated it to stabilize the right-of-way. That was all destroyed, was pushed out of the way. We can turn our pumps on now, and it pumps out into the road. The result of the parking one of the results of the parking in the right-of-way has been, it's been destabilized. The sand has gotten in the road, it's gotten in the storm drains. They don't function the way that they were engineered to do. Just when it rains, I drive through a foot of water at the center of Woodward, just where the storm drains are. I have pictures that show the sand is level with the road. Just, there has to be some balance from the landowner's rights and the community's rights to have safe access to roads and to have our storm systems done. The subdivision is willing to restabilize that and clean those storm drains out to get them to function right, but it's useless if it's going to be destroyed again and parked against. So my question is, where do those rights start and end between Jim as the landowner and the county and the subdivision that's required to maintain both the road and the right of way.
Just to give you a little bit of background on the Serenity development in Woodward. When Serenity came through the development review process mid-last decade, before the crash, they wanted to improve Woodward as their access to their subdivision. And they wanted to put pavers on it. And at the time, the county says pavers don't meet our road maintenance requirements, even though that's a government patent easement that the county controls. We don't own the land underneath it. However, as part of the development approval process for Serenity at Dune Allen, that developer asked the county for permission to use that government patent easement as the main entrance for Serenity at Dune Allen and to be allowed to improve it with pavers. In return for that, because that was not standard county specs, county said, developer, you and your subsequent homeowners association will be required to maintain Woodward Avenue, including the right-of-way on either side of the paved area. That's still the case today. That is a civil matter. That's one of the problems we're trying to solve. It's a civil matter between the landowner here and the landowners up there that are required to maintain this roadway.
So the county's not going to take a position on the safety of the storm drains, not
Just like a storm drain in the middle of watercolor, that watercolor homeowners association is responsible for maintaining it, and they committed to the county that they would do that. And Serenity at Dune Allen and its homeowners association absolutely committed to maintain that all the way out to 38.
So do they have the right to stabilize that right of way to keep the same thing in the street?
I think they do. In fact, I think they got a responsibility to do that under their development order. Any additional improvements in there beyond those that were approved by the county when Serenity Dune Allen was approved would be required to go through the development review process, but we can absolutely help you with that. Well, anything that was approved as part of the original development order, you're required to maintain, and you're authorized without further development review to restore and continue that.
That is correct. We did not evaluate that.
What we did do is ask the appraiser to evaluate these two lots with the equivalent of this easement right here. So the appraisal and the value that was just described includes a similar encumbrance right here over this portion of the lot as there is over the end of Woodward now. Thank you for your comments, but that's the way the appraisers were asked to appraise the property that we're considering purchasing.
Let me just get this gentleman in the back. I promised him he'd be next.
Yeah, I'm Charles Mays. I'm a cardiologist here in town. I live at 184 Crescent Road. I actually also own a lot on Baird Road, which I bought before my home. I've got a 4-year-old, a 12-year-old, and a 13-year-old at the house right now. And one of the reasons we decided not to build on Baird was because our lot sits just on the west side of the downhill slope of the road. And with the kids at home, we did quick math and we said, you know what? Safety-wise, this doesn't look great because on the road itself, it is a quick ascent and a quick descent with little to no apex in that road. I ride my bike over there all the time. There's nowhere to go. There's no shoulder. So if you have somebody rambling either way over that hill, even at, sadly, 51 now, my reflexes are reasonable, but a 12-year-old child is not going to get out of the way. I can assure you that. So the bottom line is, I think most people sitting here, as Brian alluded to, pretty well-attended meeting because people think it's important. One reason we think it's important is we love our neighborhood. It's quiet. People use it. They walk their dogs. They walk themselves. They run. They bike. The kids are there. We had a big Easter egg hunt in our neighborhood yesterday that spanned 2 or 3 different yards across the street. But, you know, my sense is this is going to happen. I think probably most people sitting here believe this is going to happen for economic reasons. So I think that when you look at the current drawing and you realize what a mess it's going to be, I mean, I think the next question is 6 months into this process, a year into this process, what's the fix going to be? And as somebody who lives on Crescent, I've talked to Celeste about this, I've talked to Sam about this. It hadn't been mentioned here, but there's another easement on Hilltop that sits just north of where Crescent punches into Hilltop as it loops back around. And oddly enough, it attaches to the northern part of Woodward. So my suspicion is that the proposal is going to be eventually that is opened up as well, because this doesn't solve a problem for the folks in Serenity. It probably creates a problem for them, because as they come out of the bridge in the summertime, they're going to look left and turn right. And so next they're going to want to come out a little further north because it's going to be even less of a hassle. And as Mr. Carpenter, I believe, alluded to, one of the goals here is to get traffic off 38. So we at least have some transparency, and I like that. But my suggestion would simply be this. The biggest traffic challenge on 30A is a lack of ingress and egress to 98. You get on 38, and one of the problems is you can't get off. I work at the hospital. I go to the hospital about 7:30 every day. I'm home usually by 5. But unfortunately, I go in middle of the night. I go in on holidays. I go in on weekends. That's the reason I live where I live. Because right now I can still get to the hospital 5-10 minutes depending on how bad it's backed up at Walmart. If that changes, I'm going to have to move to do my job. But what I would say is, and you guys know this better than I do, but if we're really looking to help people and fix the traffic problem, what we need to do is extend Woodward North, punch it into the dead end that is Sugar. You've already mentioned Sugar as it is, and people have egress to 98. Then you can come into the parking lot on the northeast corner of that lot, and you can also come in off 38. And now you actually got an entrance and an exit that are separate, and people can finish brunch at Stinky's and go straight north and get on 98. So I would respectfully suggest that if we're gonna fix a problem, we don't just create another problem, because that's gonna happen. And that traffic through Beach Highlands is gonna be bad, and nobody needs to sit here and say, you know, kids are gonna get hit, somebody. But that's what's going to happen. That is what's going to happen. Because it's just basic common sense. If I lived in Serenity, when I get to the end of the Bridge Road, as we've named it, I ain't turning left. And I live in that neighborhood. So that's my thought.
My name is Sam Dansky. I live on Crescent Road. I just have a few questions here. Is it my understanding that Jim Richard, owner of Stinky's, is going to owner finance this to the county? And if so, if that's true, why is that?
So anyway, the reason why is we have funds available for beach purchases and for parking, those TDT funds that I mentioned earlier. And so to keep those resources available for future purchases, we talked to Jim about owner financing, and he was open to that. Does that answer your question?
All right. Now, which one of you guys at the very beginning said they kind of started this a few years ago? You spoke to some homeowners and down Woodward and Serenity. Who was that? I have a question for you, sir. Why didn't you speak to any homeowners on Hilltop or any, say, like going up Hilltop till Dune? You have the Morelands, you have the Staggs family. Both of them have children, young children, 2 to, I don't know, 12, 13. They're always playing in the road. This will affect them more than anyone else. Have you spoken to them?
I think that's the purpose of today's meeting.
Okay, next question. Is Tony Anderson here? And if not, is it my understanding he voted, was about a month ago, a couple weeks ago, to move forward with this? And why was it so hush-hush? Why did you not speak in any terms of other than just parcel numbers? You never mentioned Hilltop, you never mentioned Woodward, Stinky's, parking lot. It was just very under the table. I know these are my opinions, maybe not questions. I'm just asking.
We don't public notice when we purchase properties. But just to answer your question though, about the agenda items, so in the past when we've had these properties and other properties on there, we try to give locators. We didn't with this, but during the meetings we certainly disclosed where the properties were, so that was something that we discussed. We also talked about during the meetings that this would be made part of the right-of-way to address the Coastal Dune Lake Protection Zone, so that was discussed in the Board of County Commissioners meeting.
But that's for this purpose.
Those neighbors weren't sought out by us. Those people came to the commissioner's office looking for some relief. That's what started the whole discussion.
I'm just wondering why waste the time to pay someone to draw this up for Stinky's parking lot. Let the man just put his own parking lot, keep it the way it is. This just seems really ridiculous. Again, just an opinion. Just remember, we're the voters here, and I know you said this is a workshop for that. Seems like you wasted a lot of resources going into this for something that is hopefully not going to happen. All right.
Hi, Lisa Bauschy. Mac, did Jim Richard own these properties at the time that Serenity was built and that road was paved or pavered? Okay. I don't understand how a property that's owned by someone can be used for a road. I know the county can do it, I get that, but surely there was some sort of agreement that would allow that access to run through the easement right there at Jim's property?
Yes, and the federal government provided that, the government had the easement.
So nothing had to be done by, no agreement whatsoever by Jim on that at the time?
Now, he was subject to the easement being used, the county controls how the easement gets used.
Okay. And then the other thing I just want to mention is When you said 2.2 million, Jay, that's just the property purchase, correct? That doesn't count the road, that doesn't count ongoing maintenance and all those good things that are going to happen down the road. If I did my math right, that's like $66,000 a parking space. That's a lot of money, a whole lot of money. But the biggest thing that I think everybody here is probably concerned about is that we go to meeting after meeting. Not all of you can attend all of them, but a lot of us go to meeting after meeting, and we see neighborhoods just being trampled on. And we just want, instead of finding out after the fact that there's these things, we would like to know ahead of time. And we'd like, and I've already mentioned this, that, you know, parcel numbers are nice, but lots of people don't immediately hop on a computer and look up parcel numbers to find out where they are. So it's really good if we could find some way to make sure that people understand that the things that are being discussed at these meetings involve their neighborhoods. And I don't happen to have, I'm not in either neighborhood this time. I came this time because I get tired of hearing, you know, NIMBY, NIMBY, NIMBY. Nobody wants it in their backyard. But if the people whose backyard these things are in do not pay attention and do not come to meetings and do not protect their neighborhoods, pretty soon we're not going to have any neighborhoods worth living in. And I'm sorry to pick on you all, but that's just
my name is Andrea. I live at 197 Hilltop. And I drive up and down Hilltop every day. One thing is we don't have sidewalks. We have a lot of tourists that are coming down from the rental houses with all of their stuff, and they pretty much take up the whole road. So that's always been a problem on that road anyway. And I think just if you add more parking to it, that's still going to be a big problem. There needs to be sidewalks and just more safety for everyone, because we all have to avoid the people coming down the road when we're going up to our houses. So, and I totally oppose either parking lot.
Yes. I don't need that. Can y'all hear me? Well, it's for the recording. Mike Shankman, live on 29 Doom Drive. I'm really interested in just a couple things. The Stinky's Restaurant came to the county commission and the planning department years and years ago when we first purchased this property, tried to build a parking lot, and they were told they couldn't do it. It's in the coastal Dune Lake protection area. Enough so that it wasn't feasible to do it. But yet, if the parking lot wasn't allowable or feasible for Stinky's to build on their own dime for their own purposes, why is it okay for the county to do the same thing? The land wasn't appropriate for a parking lot for Stinky's. It's not appropriate for a beach parking lot. The area across from Fort Panic, the Dunell Regional Beach Access, just to the east of this location, had a large open area on the north side of 30A, which I was told by the county engineer and the people who did the parking study for the county, wasn't feasible for an expansion of the parking area for the Fort Panic beach access because it was too close to a coastal dune lake. So they put 5 houses there instead. That was I guess, a fair, reasonable compromise for the use of the property, but a parking lot was not. Same situation, same lake system.
I can explain that.
I'll stop right there. I'll stop right there and give you a chance.
When the county adopted its first comprehensive plan, it was found in compliance with the state comprehensive plan, November 7, 1996. Policy L-157, the lot of record policy, was adopted as part of that adoption. And essentially what that said is the county is imposing some new rules regarding development. And you got to go through this process that we've just adopted. But if you've got a lot that already exists, that's already been created legally, then the county is recognizing your vested rights in some development, and you're going to be allowed to develop one single-family home on each one of those lots of record. You may not be able to do anything else, but we're going to give you that right just because you owned it and it was already there when the county adopted these rules.
So give them that right?
Acknowledge that right.
We've got right.
I won't argue that. But that's how those houses got developed there when something else could not go there in accordance with the Comprehensive Plan Land Development Code.
The two parcels that you're looking at right now weren't designated for apartments.
I would say they weren't, but they were designated for commercial use when that subdivision was originally developed, and they were identified in the covenants and restrictions as commercial use properties, which was how Jim had the authority to apply for a parking lot and a commercial use on those two lots. Based on the restrictions in place at the time, it did not make sense for him, in his own business mind, to develop a parking lot in the Stinky's Bait Shack there based on the return he could get from that investment compared to what he could get from two single-family lots with two monster houses. That's just simple economics. And everybody in here has to make that decision in their own life.
But Jim had bought those two lots, paid about $500,000 for those lots together, and was willing to build his own parking lot at his own expense, but couldn't make the math work.
He was not denied. He was not denied the opportunity. It did not make the best business decision for him.
Back to the TDC for 4 times what he paid for it, and then he'll build a parking lot for him. Wow! Everything everybody said about that location being dangerous is absolutely spot on. Put more congestion in a situation where there's already a bad situation, that you got a regional beach access, you got 5, 6 parking spots over there, everybody else walks across the street. That's maybe all you can do with that beach access. Okay? The other thing, one more thing. When Jim Richard built out Stinky's with his new situation there, added the extra capacity to his restaurant and such, he said that he was going to provide off-site parking and resources for his employees and, if necessary, customers as well to get to his business. And he didn't need extra parking on-site. His off-site parking was going to go, was never done. Like many people mentioned, his off-site solution to parking was parking down in other public parking areas for a long period. They never did what they said they were going to do.
And all the work park on Hilltop now.
Which,
You come around, you come off 38 on Hilltop, you don't know what you're going to see standing out on the road right there. And it doesn't give you much time to react to it, but you can follow you down 38. Because the kids on bikes, because people pushing strollers, because cars backing out and back. My dog got run over on Fair by an employee with even Stinkies. Cut through the neck. Exactly. You don't think that bridge road is going to add more people on there? You know. It's going to make it less safe for people who are already there.
okay. I'm Deb Simkin. I live on North Bishop. I'm sorry I came late to the meeting. So some of the points I may be making probably were already said, but forgive me, I couldn't get here any sooner. Number one, I don't understand if he was granted the ability to have his own lots turned into a parking lot, but he didn't take advantage of that. I don't see why taxpayers should have to do that. Number two, if it is a safety hazard, there's a lot of congestion, there's no way to provide for having people to walk up and down Hilltop because there is no ability with sidewalks, as the point was made earlier, and you're going to have added congestion, and it is a safety risk. Number three, I'm from Louisiana. We're former restaurant owners. If I were moved in this area and I had built that and I knew I was going to increase the size,
then I should have made provisions to make sure there was parking before I did it. And to add to that, why, if I'm in this community and I love this community, why would I not do what I'm supposed to do with my own private land and make it a private parking lot? Because it's not being a part of the community. You're not seen as somebody who's going to be an asset to the community. You're not going to be seen by anybody as someone who really cares about the community. And that's a problem for me, because as a former restaurant owner, I would never do that. It's not good for policy, but most importantly, it's not good for the community. And it does not make any sense to me. So I probably reiterated a lot of what you've said earlier, but I really have a compassion for this area, and I really feel like it's unique, but I don't think people should have to pay for something that is inappropriate, especially on a street, as everyone knows, that's federally been mandated not to be taken over. It's going against the law. So I don't even know why we're having this workshop if years ago you allowed him to say he was going to have this parking lot on his pieces of land, and now he's seeking to do this. Clearly, let's face this, even if this is being dedicated to the county, you're going to get policemen to make sure he's not parking people in something that's supposed to be public access? Who's going to monitor that? No one. But the whole point here is that he's trying to say he's going to contribute it to the community so we have beach access. That's baloney. You know it, and I know it, and there's no one there to monitor it. So what are we going to do, call the police every time we see that he's using his employees or the people from there? We have to monitor that now? That's ridiculous. It's just my point.
A quick question, and I may be misreading this. It appears that there's one entrance on this drawing to Stinky's. It looks like one entrance and one exit that's on 30A, and again, I could be misreading this. And that right-of-way that's Woodward, I'm curious, is he going to be, I understand that would be his now, and would he'd be able to do anything with it? My concern is a little bit these, I'm sorry? Okay, add parking. So if, it's my understanding that there have been food trucks bringing food and beer trucks and dumpster trucks and all that stuff that has blocked Woodward now. And I'm curious if if he puts parking there, more power to him, whatever, but if he puts parking there, what's to keep the dump trucks and the beer trucks and the food trucks from coming around that lovely little bridge road and blocking that area as well for other parking or people getting up Woodward? Is there no solution to that? Will he just be able to have that Woodward Drive section now and trucks can go where they want at that point? It would be his private parking lot. So would there be a way to keep those trucks from coming up that little bridge road? Because I don't know how they're going to go up and get out is my concern. Okay, that's my question, yeah. No, I mean, could he come up and around the bridge? Because how could he get through? Okay, so that is completely theirs, and it's the beer trucks and all the other trucks, so they wouldn't have any access to get there from the upper, yeah. Okay.
Ron Simpkin on North Bishop. All I can see out of this, distilled it down for me, is that this is a win-win for Richard. It's a win-win for him. It's not a win-win for us. It's not.
Fred Trucker, I just like to get an idea of what's next. Is the public going to get an opportunity to see what gets presented to the BCC before the BCC meeting, or is it going to be a surprise, or we have to wait for the agenda to come out? I mean, because there's a lot of considerations here that I would hope you're going to take a look at, because clearly what we've got is not acceptable to these folks that live in that neighborhood. So if you're going to do that, you know, I guess I'm suggesting that it'd be a good idea to give these folks another opportunity to see what the design is going to be proposed.
We have a Board of County Commissioners meeting tomorrow. While it's not an agenda item, I can certainly at the during the updates give them an update on this meeting and share with them, you know, the input from the community in the area, and ask direction from the board if they'd like for us to have a follow-up workshop where we can represent based on the input we received. Chance can then take that information and see if he can make something that works for everybody, and then we can present that back. So I'll get some direction from the board tomorrow, and depending on what they say, we can then let everybody know if we're going to do another workshop. And we have a lot of people's names and email addresses from the sign-in sheet. But anyway, but I'll get some direction from the board tomorrow on that.
I just got one thing to say. You said that he was going to use Woodward for parking. Y'all building him a parking lot, and then he gets to move more with Woodward. He's got a sweet deal.
Just real quick, there's been a lot of conversation this evening about parking for Stinkies, and I live in the area, and so all of y'all obviously live in the area. So what time does the beach fill up in the mornings? 9 o'clock, right? So if the parking lot's filled up at 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning before Stinkies even opens, so, well, that might be something we can work on. Yeah. Okay, well, if you want, then just provide your email addresses on the way out, just so we can have that, so we can send an email. Yeah. Yeah. That's what I was just saying. So if you want, just put your email address. Oh, okay. Well, Mac, you have something? All right, so I think a few more people had questions over here. Yeah.
So just why not just widen 30? Well, no, you can't because it's designated a scenic route. But what is scenic about it? You don't see the beach anymore. All you see are these behemoths. The only time you see the ocean is when you cross over a lake. So what makes scenic A so scenic? Widen it, for Christ's sakes. Honestly. I'm sure it's not popular, but the bottom line is it's going to come down to it at some point because you can't handle the load now. So I designate it as a scenic route and freaking widen the darn thing.
We are going to be, right. The county has designated this a constrained roadway that will never have more than 2 automobile travel lanes. That's certainly a suggestion, but that will double the amount of traffic on 38. What we're working towards is getting people out of their cars and into some other mode of transportation. And 30A is going to be redeveloped within the public realm to accommodate that. It will not have more than 2 travel lanes. It very well may have a dedicated transit lane, and we're going to have a multi-use path on both sides of the road that will be bigger than the one that's there now. The idea is to get people out of their cars and to reduce the number of cars on 30A. It's going to take a while for us to get there. It's certainly taken a while for us to get where we are now. But we are actively working on that. Someone suggested we need another connection from 30A to 98. Probably everybody in this room just about would agree with that.
Just real quick, we have 15 minutes left. How many? I just want to see hands real quick, so I might have to just regulate some time. Just 3 more people? Okay.
My question's been answered, so I'm going to ask it again. I'm driving a beer truck, right? A 10-wheeler. I pull into Stinky's. I'm delivering a whole bunch of Budweiser in barrels, okay? And I'm going to pull out on 38. Now, how do I do this? Do I go, my question is, do I have to go on Hilltop?
No, you will not.
No.
You'll go into the parking lot for Stinky's. So, yeah, you can right here.
How do I exit? How do I exit?
I can't get out.
Here's what they do.
Well, today, and all the documents, like the lady back here was correct. There was a sideshow truck parked on Woodward. However, I see them all the time when I ride my bike. They'll park in the bike path there. So then what do you do? There's cars parking there. So you go into 38 and hope you don't get hit. And if you look at the bike path there, it's the meeting we had, last year, was talking about counting all this. The bike path there is crumbling because the beer trucks, the sideshows, all season people, they park here. They cannot get into these people. And I'd like everyone to know that half of that bake shack parking lot is right of way. It does not belong to people. They are parking in right of way on 30 days.
Excuse me, it was my question. I haven't had an answer. I'm driving a Budweiser beer truck. It's a 10-wheeler. I know how I can get in. How do I get out without going on Hilltop?
Right now, they're parking.
You're going to park it out on 38? No, okay. No, right now they pull in. They pull in and they park there and they go out on Woodward. You're going to ask them to go here onto the new Woodward and then down Hilltop. Pardon?
This would not be open. Woodward would not be open.
Okay.
From Stinky's over there.
All right, so you're going to close this off of the fence. Okay, now, I'm driving in here, okay? I'm in here, I've got a beer truck. Here is your delivery point here, okay? Now, here I am. How do I get out? I back up? A driveway. It's the old Woodward, okay? The old Woodward, which is now a private driveway. Now, it's a federal easement, okay? What does the easement say? How do you abandon the federal easement? Pardon? Oh, okay, it's in process. You haven't done it. Yeah.
It's not in process. You said it's a process that we go through. We have not initiated any of that.
Yeah, that's what my whole point. Okay, so all I see here, what I'm looking at right now, we have a traffic mess as it is now. Okay, we have a blind corner here. We got intersecting traffic. We got two driveways, people going nose to nose here. All right, we've got a bad. Right now, we have a bad traffic mess. We're making it 10 times worse right now. Okay, it's a public safety issue at this point. Okay, and I think we've got to throw this back into the civil engineer to come up with a plan that works. Obviously, this is not going to work. It's going to make things a lot worse. It's a public safety issue. Traffic.
Great. Yeah, question?
A couple of comments quickly. First of all, we're looking at a lot of hard surface here adjacent to Coastal Dune Lake. I know you've talked to the chair of the Coastal Dune Lake Committee, and that's good, but I think that's an important consideration. The other thing is that when we're in prime season, the traffic for Stickies is backed up all the way down 30A both directions. So we're going to be adding this to that, So that's a whole nother traffic component here that we haven't even brought up this evening.
So the point you just made is why we need additional parking. I mean, the point you just made, it's already a bottleneck with Fort Panic, and we're adding another access to the area. So we're trying to make improvements to the area in the right-of-way and trying to get more parking, because in making the improvements to the right-of-way, we're going to take some of that parking away, because we're going to formalize that parking. So we're trying to find some additional parking in the area, because people are going to come and they are going to park. And so we're trying to find a proper parking place for them.
My name is Kathy Potter, and I own property on Dune Drive, and I live on that west end, and the new regional access will be where I ride my bike to. And I just want to thank you for trying to find more parking. I hope you can solve all the issues that we've heard about today. A lot of good ones were raised. But I think we're going to have also an issue if we don't have a parking lot to relieve some of the cars that are going to be in the area from the additional beach access and from Stinky's. I don't care if patrons of Stinky's park in that lot. I want a parking place for all of those extra cars to go instead of along our roads, along Hilltop, along Baird, and along 30A where that curve is. If there's a car parked between the bike path and the road, you're not going to be able to come out of Hilltop at all. So I appreciate the fact that you want to get more parking in that area. I think it's needed, but a lot of these concerns need to be addressed too. And I hope you do move forward and do parking. Perhaps if you can find some way for Stinky's employees to not use that lot because they'll park there for 8 hours at a shot. Patrons going in and out of there, along with the beach access people, would be, I think it would be a great thing.
Parking lot on it. So I'm a little more upset with him than I am with the county right now because you guys gave him a chance to do this and he didn't. But I don't want to pay for you to have to buy it when just because he refused to do it the way you asked that you offered him before. But the problem is you go over there and they have this valet parking. So people are going to see that and not want to pay for valet. So guess where they're going to go? They're going in that parking lot. And it doesn't matter what time of the day is. You're not going to have anybody to monitor that. I can guarantee you, no one wants to pay for valet, but they do because there isn't enough parking. So let him build his own parking lot on his property and don't ask us to use our money from the county to buy it.
But that's parking though in South Walton. I mean, you go to any beach access and more than likely there's going to be cars in it in the evenings. I mean, you go to Golf Place, that parking lot's filled at 8 o'clock at night. I mean,
I'm Daniel Rosenheim. I'm an attorney representing Mr. Hale and Calder. I was wondering if there are any other alternatives to the abandonment. I've heard various things about conditions, whether it's in a contract or whether it's based on y'all's ability to finance. If we can maintain Woodward and have another alternative, I'm not an engineer obviously, but have another alternative to abandoning the property and allowing free flow of access, I think that would be the most beneficial to the homeowners in Serenity. So if there is an alternative to it, whether it be agreement for parking between patrons and the beachgoers, and for Stinkies, if there's some mutuality there, I think you can meet both of your wants and desires in serving the public and Stinkies at the same time without, withdrawing the easier access through Woodward.
Is there? I think some of that's going to be depending on what Chance is able to redraw based on the comments here tonight. As part of the contract, I mean, the county can come back and we could ask, whatever we want to ask, but it's just a matter of if it's going to be agreeable terms to the current owner. So I think it's just something that we'll have to explore. I'd be curious to see what Chance can do. I think he's got a tall order, honestly, ahead of him, based on the feedback we received here tonight. But I think he can certainly option Z. Any other questions before we wrap up this evening? Is that at Hilltop and 30A or Woodward and Hilltop and 30A? Okay. Woodward has one as well? There's two. Okay. And they're stopping on 30A at those intersections? Okay. They don't go in the neighborhoods? Okay. Okay. You're so good at that. Anyway, thank you very much for everybody for coming. We'll certainly relay this information to the board, and we'll be in touch as far as next steps. Thank you.